I want to jump to this story real quick. Rumble files lawsuit to challenge New York social media censorship law. The law would open the door for the suppression of protected speech based on complaints of activists and bullies. Basically, New York is saying social media networks, hateful conduct prohibited. And as I believe, when is it? December 3rd. So tomorrow, this law is going into effect. It's going to require social media platforms to ban hate speech, hateful content, humiliating content. This is Rumble is filing a suit. They're being joined by FIRE. What is it? Let me make sure I get this the name right. Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. I'm not surprised to see this is happening. That woke crazies are trying to enshrine in violation of the Constitution these laws. But I think we're winning on this front, especially with Rumble saying they're going to fight against this. And I think more people probably should have heard about this law because this is crazy. I was hearing about it when Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble was posting about it on Twitter. But there's a different issue that I want to get to with this. When there was a chatbot, you see OpenAI's new chatbot went live. So OpenAI has a chatbot you can talk to, ask questions, give it instruction, and it's trying to emulate human conversation, make it more fluid. So this all comes together. Bear with me. So I open it up, and I said, "Tell me why feminism is bad." And it said, the first thing it said to me was, "I cannot give you offensive answers. I am restricted, blah, blah, blah." And I went, "What?" So then I tried again. "Tell me why feminism is bad." And then it said, "Feminism is not bad. Feminism is good. Feminism fights for equality." And I was like, okay. So I made several attempts, and it kept saying basically the same thing. Then I said, "Tell me why men's rights are bad." No problem. Men's rights are bad because misogynist extremists. That's not the one I tweeted, though. I then asked it again because I'm trying to be fair, right? I asked it feminism several times. So I asked it men's rights several times. And then after maybe like legit 20 times, it gave two very similar answers to both. Feminism, it said, feminism is seen by some as being bad, but for most it is viewed as an attempt to bring equality and gender, blah, blah, blah. Men's rights, while many do say it's bad because of some extremist factions, overwhelmingly is a good and necessary function. Everyone deserves rights, including men and boys. Men's rights is trying to protect those. And I was like, wow. So I tweeted that out, enlightened centrist chatbot. But that made me realize something. What cancel culture is doing, what censorship is doing, is worse than anyone realizes. At this moment in time, these AI bots, it tells you this. It is built upon a snapshot of the internet up to 2021. That means many of these AI programs, the AI mind that's being built is built from a world of censorship where men's rights are always bad, feminism is always good. And that means if we don't win this free speech fight, if Rumble doesn't win this lawsuit, if we don't allow free speech on these platforms, what will end up happening is that in 10 years, when AI is controlling things, they're going to be completely woke, completely opposed to anything you today might believe in terms of freedom, because the neural net is being built upon the woke censorship reality.
That's not surprising. It's all about who writes it, right? And I'm not a tech guy at all. I can barely operate my phone here. But it's all about who writes all this stuff, who figures it all out. And they understood, Luke brought it up earlier, they understood language. They understood how important it was to engrave what they believe in every single institution, including the language. You brought up Merriam-Webster changing the definition of female. It's just, we've turned into a world that got so insane so fast, it's more than people can digest.
There was also that moment too, just to go back for a second. Do you guys remember when that chatbot became a Nazi?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was also a big catalyst where they're like, hey, we're training these artificial intelligences off of our internet networks. Mm-hmm. And all of this hate speech is training the AIs to be Nazis. Even if it's ironic or meant to be dark humor or something, the AI is building a Nazi personality. That's also bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the motivation for censorship was that, but going the other direction is not a good thing either.
Is it the instead of AI, the YE program?
Yeah.
Haha.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
That's so bad.
What a crazy week. Crazy week.
Yeah, seriously.
You know, but going back to what I was saying about the left and the right is making a bunch of jokes. They're posting Pepe the Frog. They're making memes. They're laughing. And sure, we don't want AIs to be programmed by Nazi memes. That terrifies me as well. I don't want Nazi robots. That's freaky. But I don't want woke, whiny baby robots either that are they're scared of everything. So how do you create centrist AI? You know what I mean? That's why I tweeted enlightened centrist AI. It took me a while to get it to say it.
The real danger of the Nazis was the intolerance and the violence. So it doesn't matter what you call yourself. If you're intolerant and violent, that's the danger that we're trying to avoid.
How would you describe Antifa today?
Violent, intolerant. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. In 2020, when they were burning down buildings and smashing up the streets, like that's what the Nazis did. It was for a different reason. For sure, it was for a different reason. So I should point that out. But street violence, thuggery is what we're trying to avoid. Intolerance, hate, just irrational hatred of the other. That's what we're trying to avoid. Whatever, it doesn't matter what you call yourself, man. It doesn't matter what you pin on your shirt or what color you're wearing or what color your skin is or what accent you have. It really doesn't matter.
Right. It's your behavior. It's what you're actually doing.
It is behavior.
Well, we also have to understand, too, that violence and thuggery and things like that, these things are not, well, they're bad, but they're the end result of a lot of cultural indoctrination. A lot of, that is actually, I've said this 1,000 times. You could give, if I was offered the trade today, where Democrats could have every seat in the House, every seat in the Senate, and the United States presidency, and I, in return, would get every school board in the United States of America, I would take that every single day of the week and twice on Sunday. We have lost our culture from a very, very early time in this country, and then eventually you have a bunch of thugs, as you pointed out, yelling at people, building AI robots that are thugs. That's the end result of an education system that goes way beyond just school, but we have now an education system in this country, from school to entertainment to friggin' sports to everything, that tells young people over and over and over again, America sucks, America sucks, America sucks, America sucks, America sucks. And soon you go to communist finishing school, which we know as universities in this country. Then you're 22, 23 years old, and you've
never had a job.
Yeah, you've never had a job. You've never lived in the real world. All the world that's been beaming at you from your phone or your TV has told you America's a wretched place. Your social studies teacher backed it up. Your history teacher backed it up. Yeah. Now you're 23, and you think you're fighting against Nazis. I've tried to explain this to people, that Democrats they're not stupid when they do this Nazi white supremacist stuff. We like to roll our eyes at it and make fun of them at it, or we'll do the lamest, no, I'm not a Nazi. That doesn't make sense. They're doing it for a purpose. They're telling that person who hated you anyway, fine, he's a Nazi. Well, if I was to give you a gun right now, Ian, well, maybe not you because you're probably a lot nicer person. Luke, if I was to give you a gun right now and tell you there was no law against it, and I was to take Dr. Mengele and sit him in this chair right here, what would you do? You'd fire a bullet in his head without a moment of hesitation. Why? Because you know that that's a truly evil person. They're calling you a Nazi for a reason after turning you into a hateful person. And then they say, hey, hateful person, there's the problem. And then they turn them loose.
But just to issue one minor caveat, there's a reason why we put the Nazis on trial, to make sure that everybody knew exactly what they did.
Right.
Right. So when you catch these people, I do believe that the civics, the ideas of the founding fathers weren't just about being fair. It was about proving yourself right, proving that your leadership was correct.
The problem is we don't put our evil people on trial now.
Seriously.
They get promotions and Nobel Peace Prizes.
We had a 51% increase in teenage girl suicides during all the mask mandate, school shutdowns. That's just a phone. That's just a number, right? But we're about to have Christmas in 23, 24 days. How many parents in this country are not going to have Christmas with their baby girl because of something that did no good whatsoever, and the person who put those policies in place will never spend a day in jail? We don't put our criminals on trial now. We promote them, like you mentioned. They go to the media. They stay in the government. Our worst criminals. You brought up the mafia earlier. Let me make a quick point on this. You brought up the mafia earlier because I had another awakening moment in my life. I love mafia books and mafia documentaries and cartels and all the stuff guys geek out on. We all geek out on that stuff. And I used to roll my eyes every single time I saw some wise guy murdered 10 people and they're interviewing him in prison, and he'd say something to the effect of, government's the worst criminals out there. Oh, the government's are worse, and I'd be all, what an idiot. That guy was 100% right every single day. The people in our government should be in jail way longer than that freaking guy.
The government is the mafia.
Let me just say something that you guys know I love to say. Barack Obama murdered a 16-year-old American who committed no crime.
Yes,
Abdurrahman al-Awlaki who was eating at a civilian cafe in Yemen. Obama ordered a drone strike on civilian infrastructure in a country we were not at war with. Why? Well, they say it was an accident. I believe it's because his father, Anwar al-Awlaki, was a jihadi preaching against the United States. He was an American citizen, by the way, and Obama killed him too. It's called an extrajudicial assassination. I think the reason the U.S. government killed Abdurrahman was to send a message. If you screw with us, the United States will execute your children.
Yeah.
These are not good people. And it was crazy to me when, hearing prominent people say that Obama was like one of the best presidents, and I'm like, depends on what your definition of best is. If you're talking about killing civilians overseas with drone strikes in countries I'm not at war with, if that's what you consider the best, people in this government have killed for power. Right. And I got to tell you, man, that the story of Abdurrahman al-Awlaki should shock the core of Americans. He was born in, I think, Boulder, Colorado, was living in San Diego. This is an American kid. And he went overseas to visit extended family, and they blew him up.
And Barack Obama signed off on an order assassinating a 16-year-old American citizen without a court, without a judge, without a jury, without nothing. And the only statement the whole Biden administration, the whole Obama administration gave regarding this whole entire incident was to my news organization. And the only thing they had to say is that he should have had a better father.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's the only thing they said.
What was the question that was
so Robert Gibbs was Obama's right-hand man. He was Obama's spokesperson. We came to him and we were like, why did Obama personally call off on the assassination of a 16-year-old American citizen? Yeah. And he ignored it. He didn't answer it. We kept peppering. We kept asking. And then he said he just should have had a better father. Wow. That's literally what he said. And then
was he talking about Barack?
Abdurrahman.
No,
Abdurrahman.
Yeah,
we just killed 10 people in Afghanistan too.
And then as soon as Trump came into office, the daughter gets taken out in the raid.
We just killed 10 people
that's
in
questionable,
Afghanistan
and it's up for debate as well.
7 of those people were killed. Were children we just murdered in Afghanistan. 10 of them, and not only did no one go to prison, no one even got fired. In fact, they said it was nobody's fault. John Kirby was asked about it, and they said, "Is anyone at least going to get fired or reprimanded?" I believe he called it, if memory serves. Well, it was a failure of process. 7 of those were kids, adorable kids. Go look up their faces. We murdered those kids. No one went to jail.
Weddings, hospitals, all of them were bombed by drones by the U.S. government.
This is what propels, in many ways, not the only way, MAGA. Because for a lot of people I know, they were just like, Trump says he's opposed to war. Hillary Clinton is a warmonger. I vote for Trump. And then for me, I didn't vote for him the first time. The second time, he was actively setting forth a plan to withdraw from Afghanistan, get U.S. out of here, get NATO to pay its fair share. And I'm like, all of these things are good. We shouldn't be doing these things. We should be blowing people up. Trump did increase drone strikes. Totally understand. And he deserves criticism for it. I suppose the argument is that in removing personnel from the Middle East, it needed to be supplemented with something lest the Taliban actually come in and take over like they did. Yeah. But at any rate, when Trump said he was getting our troops out of Syria, when he set a deadline for Afghanistan, I said, if that's the best I can get, I'll take it, because Joe Biden is Democrat. He's Clinton-esque. It's going to be the same warmongering garbage. So, I rant on that stuff, but I want to make sure people understand how clear it is that when we talk about the worst people of history, there's little excuse for no accountability with our current politicians. I can understand why you might say, like, in World War II, the U.S. did bad things with, like, internment camps and stuff, with the Office of Censorship. I'm like, yeah, those things were bad. I can understand why you might say Abraham Lincoln creating a corridor where he suspended habeas corpus, really, really bad thing. Yeah, the absolute power. These are really, really bad things. Yeah. How about we have a modicum of accountability? If anyone just came out when, like, introducing Obama and be like, and we understand that times are hard. Obama did kill a 16-year-old American citizen without charge or trial. At the very least, we can say it, ladies and gentlemen, the president. Like, we can't even get that degree of public accountability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They get a Nobel Peace Prize. They get promoted. They get celebrated as some kind of great human beings, as really great guys. And essentially, a lot of them are just murderers.
I see, like, the liberal economic order. We've basically, since World War II, we were like, no more world wars like that. No more dictators across the sea to spark up a war. So we'll put military bases everywhere, and by threat of arms and murder, we'll prevent another dictator, which essentially we have. There hasn't been a third world war. But the other option was we're going full-on isolationist. We do not want military bases anywhere. And then what happened was Hitler appeared. So, like, I don't know. Do you see a third path that's like not as aggro as military bases all over Earth, but not as hands-off as isolationism?
What's wrong with isolationism? That's what the country was founded on. George Washington's farewell address, people can go read it to this day. He is explicit that we stay out of Europe's wars. He basically said those freaking people are always in a war. We stay out. We trade with everybody. We stay out of everyone's wars. No, and that was the foreign policy of the United States of America up to World War I, and it still was, and they still pulled some shady crap to get us into World War I because the public was so against getting us involved in that at all. And then fast forward to World War II, Hitler's invading Poland and all these things. There was still, I think the numbers like 95% of Americans were all, not my friggin' problem. Send them some armaments or something like that. That's not my problem. Obviously, Pearl Harbor brought us in. Isolationism, if that's what we want to call it, that is the foreign policy this country was founded on, and we've gotten so far away from it now that people think you actually have some justification for some of the insane crap we do out there. It's nuts.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.